inflation. Now, for me, this conjures up images of me and my old man on a camping holiday in the south of France, trying to blow up a paddling pool using a dodgy inflatable foot pump. But it also means something else in the financial world. Inflation is merely a measure of the annual increase in price. It can take many forms, and one of the tricks used by governments, and indeed companies, is to change the definition when such a change brings a politically better answer. For a long time in the UK, there were two measures: factory output prices, which were a reasonably good proxy for more general inflation several months later, and the retail price index, the RPI. This measured a basket of goods each month and compared the price with the price of the same basket a month and a year earlier. So long as the components of the basket approximated to the normal outgoings of a normal household, this worked well. Of course, as well as things actually buyable in shops, food, clothes and petrol, etc., it also included things like fuel bills, services, holidays, leisure activities, and importantly, the cost of housing, either rent or mortgage interest. As interest rates rose alarmingly in the 1970s, mortgage interest got left out. We know why. As more different goods became available, the components of the basket changed. For example, the availability of electronic goods of all kind has made their cost fall dramatically in real terms. When the UK government first issued index-linked gilts, the interest and repayment amounts were linked to the RPI, and this was deemed to offset the erosion of value due to inflation. And in rough terms, this worked. But most households aren't normal, and especially those of the elderly, who spend a far higher proportion of their income on fuel and food, both of which have a strong tendency to rise faster in price than many other items of expenditure. This is a major weakness of using a single measure. Some years ago, the RPI was quietly sidelined by the all-singing, all-dancing Consumer Prices Index, CPI, which to absolutely no one's surprise was, when it was introduced, a lot lower than the RPI. And so it goes on. Inflation of Weimar proportions, several million %, is clearly catastrophic for the economy, which is effectively returned to a barter system. But a modest degree of inflation is probably necessary. Most economists would probably suggest a figure not far from 2% per annum. To this extent, inflation works like lubrication in a machine. Too much is fatal, but so is too little. It cannot be a coincidence that the UK government has fixed and held to for several years a target of 2% for the Bank of England to track. Annual, proxy, retail, leisure activities, mortgage, mortgage interest, index limited gilts, to issue, to deem, to offset, expenditure, items of expenditure, to be sidelined, all singing, all dancing, inflation of Weimar proportions, to barter, modest degree of inflation, lubrication, coincidence, fix, target, to track,